still mispronounce the name of the show. It happens to everyone. Kia ora whānau. Altbays Show is live. Brought to you by Altbays.NZ. We have beautiful people here tonight. So we're going to start with a karakia. Okay? We have Ed Mikaere and Awhina Mikaere. And I have the pleasure to have Chloe Potae co-hosting this beautiful show. So before we do this, eyes please.
Kia ora.
Tēnā tātou. Tēnā koutou e te iwi. Ko tai mai nei te karakia. Ka poaina te kiwi te paunga o te pō. Ka kete ngā ka kātara hai te tākiritanga o te ata. Ki rungi ngā maunga pāo mai mahurangi tū āwhenua. Ki taupiri. I horahi ai ngā whāriki o ngā kōrero. Hei awhinuku, hei awhirangi. Tūturu whiti whakamaua kia tīna.
Tīna.
Haumie huie.
Tāki e.
Tuatahi māku e mihi atu ki te rungarawa. Nāna te timatanga me te whakamutunga. I ngā mate maha o te tau nei. Haere atu rā. Haere ki Hawaii ki nui, Hawaii ki roa, Hawaii ki pāmamau. Rātou te hunga wairua ki a rātou, ko tātou te hunga ora e hui mai nei. E mihi ana. E te kingi atu heitia. E noho mai ana i runga i te ahurewa tapu o ngā mātua tūpuna. Me te whānau kāhui ariki. Rire hope pai mā rire. E mihi ana ki te iwi o tēnei rohe o Ngāti Hei. E mihi ana ko tēnei te nohonga o mātou. O māua ko tōku whanaunga ki te whitianga o kupe. E kore mātou e ware ana. Te rohe he tino tapu ki a rātou nei. Nō reira Ngāti Hei mihi ana anō. Ko ai māua, ka piki whakarunga ki te tihi o tōku maunga. Ko moe hau, ka te tiro whakararo ki tōku whenua, ki oku iwi, ko hauraki, ko manaia, ko Ngāti Maru, ko Ngāti Pūkenga.
Booyah.
Ka whakahoia tōku waka e rua, mga tātua, ki te taho a Ngāti Pūkenga, Tainui, taho a Ngāti Maru. Ki rungi i te moano o tī kapakapa, atu ki te wā, ki te waha o te awa o manaia. Tērā te karanga o tāua o māua nei marae. Ko te kau o rehua, me tōku whanaunga anō.
Thanks.
Kei reira tonu, ngā ahi ka, hei tutungia ngā ahi, hei whakaoratia ngā ture, ngā tikanga, ngā kaupapa i waihoanga o ngā tūpuna. Ko te reo, he taonga tuku iho o ngā mātua tūpuna. Nō reira, e mihi ana ki a koe, Leo, Chloe, thanks for having us.
Kia ora.
Kia ora.
Kia ora. Thank you so much. Thank you. What a night, Ed.
What a night, bro. Is it done? We done?
That's us. Thank you so much, guys.
Yeah.
Awhina is the head of Māori Head of Department.
Correct.
From the Glenfield.
Yeah, over on the shore.
School holidays.
School holidays.
Feeling good?
Yeah, feeling great. Been home for the last couple of weeks. There's no place like home. Mm-hmm. Just to reconnect, to revitalise before you head back to the city again. I don't really want to go, but you know. I mean, yes, I'm coming back, Glenfield. Of course I am.
Love you guys. Love you guys.
Love you
Official
lots.
resignation. You heard it first. Stop it.
Where's Glenfield?
It's on the shore, just sort of above Wairoa Park area.
Right.
Yeah.
Auckland.
Yes, for those that don't know, it's in Auckland. Tāmaki, of course, where everybody lives.
Thank you so much for joining us on your holidays. That's pretty special. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
And Mr. Ed,
Rang.
arborist, father,
Yeah.
Ahika.
Ahika, bro.
Is that correct? I did a little bit of research. It talks about land rights. Is that right? In a bad translation to English, I would say.
It's just like ahi. It's like a fire. Our people lit it way back then. We just got to keep it going. best way I can explain it.
Fire stoker. Keeps the fires burning. Yeah.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah, not literally. Well,
Well,
sometimes.
In the winter, you'd hope.
Yeah. From my line, it does. We're known for lighting fires in Manaia.
Thunderstorm 2 days ago. Yeah. Same height as this building.
Yeah, I'm literal when it comes to ahika.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's the whole kaupapa of that, yeah.
I guess if you explain ahika, it's like everything that you want to survive from what was left behind and making sure that the wheels keep turning, that it never dies out, whether it be language, whether it be traditions within your whānau, anything like that.
Does it just before I do that, because that's an important question, I just want to say thank you to Base Pizzeria for shouting some cars.
Yes. Thank you, Michael.
You guys happy? Did you guys enjoy the food?
Yeah. Good kai.
Yeah, large
Good
crowd,
kai.
very happy.
Good kai.
Yep.
Yeah.
So if you're coming to Whitianga or if you are a local, make sure to check them out.
Yes.
Base.Fiti. We're going to have them on the screen. So thank you so much for the kai. Beautiful whānau, always bringing us some
main
good
base,
food.
eh? Nice.
Yeah. So I just want to make sure that I understand this right. There's a movement in Brazil of the people without land. That's the literal translation. And what they do, Taylor, correct me if I'm wrong. There are land that people don't pay taxes anymore on them, or like it's just like abandoned land, or like there's no one is looking after the land. So they pretty much go and occupy, right? And it's a big movement. Started as like some rebels kind of thing, like people. Well, the white collars would judge them as rebels, but they were actually finding place for people to live, and they started to grow foods, of course, because that's what you do, right? With land, you make great use out of it. Yes. Is there a relationship with that of like taking ownership back from spaces that used to be like? Can you take me through that part? I'm sorry.
Less than 200 years ago, Māori owned 100% of New Zealand. 3% now. There's a stat.
Yeah, I guess in regards to what you're talking about, Leo, it's like within where we're from, the land has been passed through generations, and so it's not so much that it needs to be occupied by people because it's just sitting there. It's more that that the people who have the right to build on it may not have returned yet, or they may not hold enough shares to be able to build on the land, and so there will be the signing over of shares to other family members so that they have one full share, which is what's needed to build. And then so where my whānau is, that's always been our land as such. Well, I wouldn't say always, because I suppose it goes back as far as I can remember. Anyway, we've always had one homestead that we always go back to, which is still standing today, and then we've built around that, we've built other homes. But it's not that the land is not owned, because it's not really ownership, It's more that it's there might not be, someone might not have put a building on that space yet.
Yeah, and the idea that like just because it may look like an empty paddock doesn't mean it's open to be used as a like a as grazing, as an empty paddock. Like it's just Yeah.
It's a big issue. It's quite a sensitive topic at the same time.
Yeah, very.
And what that tells me is, like, for myself, is that we've forgotten how to live with each other under the same roof, probably. We've individualized ourselves into just whānaus, and like we're happy in our little home with our little family and stuff, but we actually come from a bigger number. There's a whakatauki that goes to that. It goes, e hara taku toa I te toa takitahi, engari he toa takitini. So I might be of one, but I come from a line of thousands. There's heaps of us.
But that would be the impact of, I suppose,
it would be.
Of those that become urbanised and move away. They, it might take three generations before someone pops back and says, "Hey, here we are."
Yeah.
For them to reconnect. Yeah, but I guess there is a little bit of that individualism that's crept in that is so
And
is just killing our world.
Because you have a look at our whānau, our tuakana that live over in the islands, Samoa, Tonga, they still hold those bonds really good. They have their kaitahi and stuff.
Community, eh?
Yeah, they're really tight, and that is a way that our people used to be. So my cousin and I, we grew up knee-high since we were little, in our little village called Manaia. Population then would have been about 80. Our school population was about 25. And sorry, we saw the last end of our nannies and our pops, the loving manaki of them, the hard work. Everything was still done by hand. Ploughing a paddock by hand with a plough pulled by a cow or a bullock or a horse, but mainly by a shovel, spade. Just everything was done by hand. It's not even 40 years ago. And how society has changed. Let's just get machines. And it's just,
Well, it's become easier for one person to do the job, right? Versus back in the day where there'd be the whānau would be doing the job.
Shared responsibility.
That shared responsibility, but that shared ownership of the goods that came out of that as well, compared to, well, we did, what's that little red hen story, that whole who will help me? It's sort of...
I'm not sure. But I was thinking too, and the idea that back in the day, rather than say just like the family of Smiths in a household, you lived as an iwi. Together.
As a hapū.
So you were, again, with going along the lines of your many numbers, and you, back then there wasn't really an option not to look after where you lived and to work the land, fruitfully, because that's where you lived. Yeah. If you didn't have that, and it's just a weird idea that these days, because you have what's considered options, as in, I can buy here or live there or build here. It's that you've lost sense with being grounded and understanding what it means to look after the soil, to grow flowers, whether it be food, that's right. Grow those sort of, I don't want to say, maybe spiritual sort of foundations rather than physical foundations for your house.
Tika.
And I think that's a little bit lost as well.
Spot on.
Spot on. And it's our auntie who is gone. Which was your mum, basically. And your grandfather then would have been the oldest sibling in our family, my line, my grandfather's oldest brother. And they lived all together once upon a time, all 9, 10 of them, with their children. So in my house that I live in right now, there was 18 people living in there at once, and it was all our family and bits of it. And right down to... would have been my great-great-grandfather living there, Nāruna, which was the apex person in our whānau, which ties us into a lot of other places, right, even through to Ireland with Natalia and Caroline Perrott. That was talked about today. But, so that just shows you how much it's actually individualism has pushed everybody up.
I guess,
and how quickly, how quickly it happened. People talk about it on a larger scale, and general, with the Māori people, and especially when things like Māori land rights and that sort of conversation comes about, and land ownership. But it's just out in our whānau, literally over the hill in Manaia, is only one example of how quickly, like you said, it was not even 40 years worth of history, just how quickly things. The way society has pushed it. Quite literally disintegrated.
A cousin, she got in touch with me, but I probably walked past her about 30 or 40 times in our lifetime.
Yeah.
Not even knowing. How sad is that, Yeah,
it's pretty sad.
How do you feel how much is the weight, the responsibility of making sense of these things and having to pass that on to the children, to make sure that it's something that doesn't come too heavy as well, because... correct me if I'm wrong, you don't want to scare the young generation away. You just want to inform them in a nice way that they feel positive about who they are. But it's something, it's complicated.
Yeah.
Okay, so back then, our our grandparents or our nan and pop, they were not well educated either. So getting to be able to put a structure up and being able to explain to us that way was pretty hard. They went to school in the 40s, I think. Oh no, my grandfather was born in the 40s, so he went to school, and just over the hill, just over a hill, he was getting strapped for speaking Māori, and come back and he was speaking English and he was patu'd again. So that was sort of the whole changing point, so to speak, to see violence like that around children. Didn't happen much around our people back in those days. And the whole weight of it, I suppose, now is like, now you got to put them in the drive seat, bro. You got to teach them to drive. You got to put them up the front so that they don't be shy in that area of their responsibility. You're Māori, you're born into responsibility. And I didn't realise that. So another reason why the cousin and I are here, same village, straight and narrow, no ears, kid.
A bit wonky tonk.
Well, way wonky, bro. I was like 20 years in and out of corrections, bro. So, having to go through all of that sort of stuff is, that's the other side of the coin. And it just tells you how easy it is growing up in a beautiful village like how we did, having the support of the beautiful people which we did, growing up with the beautiful people that taught us everything, that held on to it, was cool. But it just shows you how an influence like money, drugs and alcohol, women, for me, for men, it's just like, boom, takes you straight away from everything, straight up, and you become this, and then you watch movies and you want to try and jump like Vin Diesel or whatever, you try and become the ninja or whatever. It's those sort of things, and and then when you get outcast from your whānau, sometimes you end up going and finding a new whānau, and that comes with a patch on your back or whatever. I'm not saying that, and that's how it happened for me because I didn't. Just thankful that we come from a beautiful place like we do, and there's a lot of little villages like ours spread throughout the motu that go through the same struggles, especially our whānau. Big mihi out to the whānau down in the East Coast. A lot of the villages would have been destroyed in marae and all of that urupa. So, a lot of their people would have been washed away in the floods and stuff. So, my heart goes out to the whānau down there. Yeah.
So, Awhina, you were a teacher. And when did you start your studies? How old were you?
Oh my gosh, I would have been 18. So 18. I did in my 7th form year. That's how old I am. Sorry, year 13 for the younger people out there. I was actually sent back to Manaia to look after my koro, my grandfather, who was sick at the time. And so at the time I thought, this is terrible. My whole life has been, I thought that my life was just like of no value, that I was being pulled out of my most important year of schooling to go and look after my grandfather. I loved the fact that I got to look after my grandfather, but rocked up to a school whose prefects were 5th formers and, just very different to the city, a smaller place, and all the subjects that I took, they couldn't teach me, so I was suddenly on correspondence and all I had to do was sign in the morning and off I went. So so from there, I was 18 when I first went to Teachers College after doing a year in Manaia. And I have lived away for all of that time and would return. As a kid, I'd be in Manaia every school holidays as often as I could, and we'd also drive up for tangi and everything. We lived in Wellington, and my dad would always, and I'm thankful to him for that he would always take us to Manaia. So it was a big part of my life growing up, even though I wasn't there full time. Once I hit, my own sort of independence, was a little bit different. But I would always come home to, I don't know if the world got too hard or I was struggling, I'd always come back to my nan. And like I said to you guys earlier, I just go home to revitalise, to reset, and then go again. So I'd always come home. But very different upbringing from the cousin here, because I had father who, from his own parents, my koro and my nan, pushed into education and pushed to do well and go out there and get a good job and all those sort of things. Don't worry about things Māori, don't worry about the reo. Just go and get educated so you can make something of yourself. And my father passed on that to myself and my brother. And so while we have degrees and we educate and things like that, for me, there was always a pull home. I've always been the one in my family who wanted the reo, who wanted to know tikanga, who wanted to be in the village and know everybody. And not much has changed, even though I've been away, even lived overseas. There's always been that pull for me to come home and try and give back and get into the community in whatever way I can. And so to re-establish my relationship with my cousin here meant that I can say, oh, whose kid is that? And he knows and stuff. It's all those sort of things.
Just a comment, referring back to like how sort of short the history was over in Manaia between our families, of how early it seems in like general New Zealand history that the idea that Māori children, so like our grandparents, our parents, were getting like getting the Māori beaten out of them, to your generation now as parents to be like, and that feeling that you had when you were younger, which I relate to, is the idea that you're being encouraged to go out and succeed in the world, but sort of without te reo or without your like whanaunga, like in your connection, because that's the way your parents were raised and that's how they were taught to survive.
Taken out of the primary area.
Yeah, and then
primary school.
And the simple idea that you could be successful or you need to be successful, but without Māori, as if it was going to hinder that.
That's right.
Like, and then to think now, I mean, Ed, with your beautiful children and like how, like the way they speak in reo and going back to the marae, the way they tautoko you, with waiata and such, like it's beautiful to see, because I see that in generations now as well, that like, you know, it's cool to be Māori now.
Yeah, it's
you're
valued.
Proud to be. And like the idea, like, and whether it be in like job titles or degrees now that, or like business courses and stuff, that like you can be successful and be Māori at the same time. And it's crazy to think that like not too long ago for our own whanaunga, they were getting beaten, like, you know, like, and then it was like, it's crazy how it's a sad thing to think that the history is so short for our whānau, but then it's also kind of cool because then it means it's just like quickly accelerated. There's not too many generations there that have been missed out, you know. It's
the problem we have at the moment is like
maybe 2, 3, 2 is 3.
4.
Oh, generations have missed out.
Oh, what do you mean?
Well, no, because my nan
with the losties.
Oh, just with the reo and stuff. So my nan, matatau ki te kōrero. Sorry, fluent. And then didn't.
Half us with the subtitles afterwards.
Sorry, subtitles.
No, you're right.
And then didn't pass it on to her own children, but would speak to me in te reo. There was something between me and my nan, I can't explain it, where she would. And so my kids, not like Edward's, they haven't grown up on the marae. They're actually, I guess, somewhat of, they're not a disappointment, but the way they feel about Manaia compared to me is like, how can you not have caught my love for this place?
Oh, they will.
But my granddaughter,
they will.
But my granddaughter, different. Straight away, it's only reo with her because I can see the importance and how hard I've had to work, and I'm not by any means anywhere near fluent. So,
but because we can see the value in it now.
Yeah.
But and it's sad to admit that it kind of took a little bit of a societal change for that to be present in whānaus. Because like as a treasure, like it'll always be there. It's just in our nature. In Māori people, like it's literally tradition to pass on through word of mouth, etc., and like learning. But like I think it took like a little bit of a societal change for like kind of someone else to say that it was okay for us to really open up.
Sad.
It's really
it
sad.
Took the end of all of our people
Generation,
to wake us up almost, to say, hey,
those people like you know, your nan, our nans, Auntie Sibyl, Auntie Lani,
Auntie Bon, Uncle Toko, all of them.
You know, those people. You know, I miss them, every day. I think about them every day, and those things, they're real powerful. You know, like you could go to their homes. Like our homes are never locked. Doors always open. I do that now.
I've got a pit bull,
my house
just so you know. He bites.
I have to actually like remind my pop these days to be like, lock the door, and he's like, I did. I was like, no, but like, did you actually lock the door? Because like there's like the front door's locked but the back door's always open, you know.
And if it's locked, the key's like real close by.
And
everyone knows where it is.
I put that fear in people. I did it as well. I'm part of that. Who put the fear into make people lock their doors. I was the one going into their homes and doing that stuff, you know. That's why, you know, I value my cousin's friendship, because I broke it. I wehe, you know, what they call wehe te whare. You split the home in a sense where you go rob it. You split the home, you put fear in it, you do everything else into it. And so that's where I've come around and just like, okay, that's not going to happen in our village. How can we deplete that, or how can we just sort of like change that and like be honest with my kids? They know everything. Dad didn't go to the big castle or go to army, but he went and got, you know, went to corrections. He went to jail for doing this and this and this, because if you don't put it to them on the table right at the start, gets sugar coated, everything else goes on top.
How long did you spend?
Like, honestly, started my career in GDA like about 2003 all the way to 2017. So yeah, she's a rough road, in and out road, but you know, never out at those times for longer than like 12 months at a time or something like that. Something ridiculous, man.
How was the feeling of going back?
Yeah, you sort of grow accustomed to that too. Like, yeah.
Desensitized, maybe.
Yeah, hard. What's that mean? Is that like
has no effect on you because you're so used to doing it, you become desensitized.
Like, so I'm one of those kids. Don't touch that. It's hot. How hot?
And break it too.
and broke it most of the time. And then but it's only hot on that one, but it's not hot there. Why is that? You know, I had to go right around. I'm one of those for two kids.
So shall we share your story with my whānau?
Yeah, hard, because that's all about taking accountability and rising up. You know, rising up above it. So I actually. Sorry. Yeah.
Do you want me to?
Yeah.
So obviously we've talked about how Edward and I. So there was about a group of maybe 6 cousins that spent every school holidays together. Edward and I are and Penny, our cousin Pen. We're probably the only 3 now still in New Zealand. The rest are overseas. And
I know Pen.
Yeah.
Is it in Hamilton?
Yeah, that's our Pen. That's our Pen. She's one of our type nearest and dearest. Penny Loke. And Edward at the time must have gone to see my dad, and my dad had offered Edward some work because they're obviously from a small community. There's not a lot of income. So he had offered some money for Edward to do some work on the land for him, and Edward came up to do that, but really he was scoping out to see what he could access to sell, and so he actually ripped the old man off, which, you know, for us, the old man is us, we are all one. And so he stole from Dad, stole a bit of stuff from my father, and never did the mahi either. And like, you know, so and off he went, and we all found out, obviously, and there was separation between us. Major, like our family would not talk to Edward, and if we were at a tangi or something like that, in fact, I was there one day at the urupa, and we were burying somebody.
No, it was Auntie Lani's unveiling.
Okay, it was Auntie Lani's unveiling, and my dad actually had a go at Edward in the urupa, and I had to take Dad away. So come on, leave it, Dad, leave it. This is not the place. But he was still hurt because he had offered, you know, a solution, and it went a different way.
Yep, hard out.
And then probably about how long ago, Cass? Maybe 3 years ago. Yep. I just decided I was just going to let it go and forgive him. Life's too short. We had a great friendship growing up, and I knew that the cousin had kids, and being a teacher, you know, how can I help? And following my, you know, what I wanted to do was get back in the community and stuff. And so, you know, and it happened to be just, I think last year I was cleaning out my dad's office, and I actually found a letter that Edward had written to my dad to apologise. It's beautiful. And we were just talking about the other day, he didn't know that I had read it, because he said, I've read it. I said, I've read it. he was like, I don't know, if the old man's going to forgive me. I said, the fact that my dad kept that letter means something. Because he would have burnt it. So, and all I've done is made sure that my family know, my whānau know that, Edward's been helping me out. He'll come and help. I'll hang out with him, hang out with the kids, and just showing them that, and saying to everyone deserves second, third chances. Life is short and people make mistakes. I'm not saying, obviously, I don't know the community out there that's listening their stories, but for me it was like I've raised by a nan who said forgiveness is the ultimate, a very staunch Christian woman, and she would have forgiven him. In fact, she did. I know before she passed she'd forgiven him. So if I'm going to walk in how I've been brought up by my nan, then I need to forgive him too. And I love him to pieces, and I love the kids to pieces, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
Now, thank you, Chris.
That's beautiful.
Got you.
That there's like that's truth, eh? Like that is just raw, and that's what happens in small villages if you are not kept occupied. So I don't know, ADD whatever HD what's that DHB
ACDC.
Yeah, that stuff, bro. Honestly, bro, I'm that fella like hype. You hear my girl sounded like thunder was coming around the house or on here.
Just just quite literally fiddling, but you can't stay still.
Yeah, straight up.
That's all
that was how
ADHD.
That's what he was rapping.
Yeah. So that's what I mean. Like that wasn't diagnosed. I was dyslexic. Yep. Had bad English. Didn't pass school C. I just went right to Z. And bro, 5th form, dropped out. Thought because I was pretty good at sports, bro. Like not too bad. So I went over to chase a career over in Australia to play league. Yeah, and then I got pretty close, and then what's that thing? The 60s, 70s, drugs, alcohol, rock and roll,
sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
And then straight up, and then got booted out of my house by my mum. I love you, mum, and
love you, auntie, cousin.
My mum and I still have troubles trying to connect as well. Feeling of abandonment, being a kid left with your grandparents. Same with my dad. So I never had a dad or a mum, but being brought up with your grandparents was a natural thing for our people, and having that sort of thing. Those are beautiful ahika mahi that are left behind. For our people to do.
Forgiveness, humility.
If you cannot, how's your child? Ana, you have a whānau here that can have the same values, which is what we're trying to do now. So we have a manaia, and then we have like, how many of our whānau? Or like 80% of our whānau live around the world, mainly. Yeah. So, we could have a manaia in the Gold Coast and in Perth with the amount of our whānau as a whole to be able to keep those
whakawhanaungatanga, eh?
Yeah, nā mātāpono alive. Mātāpono, there's like, what are the 10? Whakawhanaungatanga, ko tahitanga, tikanga reo, hauora, or orangatanga.
Kind of like key values.
Yeah, like that 10 commandments, but easier to put in that sort of a sense, bro,
Would you learn
every day
good things in jail as well from all the Māori, or even if you want to unpack a little bit more, what could you see? Because you're a smart man. We had a good conversation a couple of weeks ago, and you knew numbers and all this stuff. We can talk about that, but from the perspective of a young man observing the environment around you, was it majority brown people? Were there people who were very inspiring and knew what was going on, or there was a sense of fear? How was the vibe?
I'd just say in the early 80s and maybe mid 90s, it would have been a strong contingency of Māori. As you see now, a big contingency now in the prisons are of Pacific Māori island. Our brothers and sisters from the islands are starting to fill those things up. Read in the news the other day that there's an article that the fire brigade will go.
They don't want to know the stats, man. We'll drop those stats, man. We'll drop those stats.
It was the biggest prison in New Zealand is nearly full. So police are advised to make necessity arrests.
What?
Necessary arrests. Yeah, I told you, bro. English. Yeah. But making necessary.
Yeah, we're going to translate here.
Yeah. Waiho i ngā tangata, you just got to try and weigh it up. And that's how they're doing it. And then the rest of them are getting house arrest. So, you know, those things are happening. I don't know, like nothing good. Oh, yeah. You can do like jail, man. Jail does hard time, takes you away, makes you wake up. But it's just as easy to go back to.
Is it a true reforming? Do you think anyone goes in, or well, obviously not everybody because we can't talk about everyone, but what made you reform? What made you finally stop offending? Sorry, have you? Nah, I was just kidding.
Oh, yeah, that's it. You know, like at any time, anyone could go inside. Anybody. You could, no, anyone, I'm not going to manifest that, but anybody can just walk out of here tomorrow, run somebody over, that's jail offence.
You were back in and out. What stopped it?
Those three over there.
The tamariki.
Yeah.
Tamariki.
Yeah, those
Yeah,
three.
for the audience,
We
do have a little crowd. We have a little audience over there.
Oh, yeah.
It's the kids.
Te rei rāku tamariki. I have three children that I know of.
That you know of?
Here, guys, you might have more siblings.
Which visit?
Which era?
Which visit out of jail was those other ones made?
Oh, no, not visits out of jail. Visits in jail, no.
They,
sorry.
They were visits home, weren't they? Because you keep going back. Sorry, guys.
Second home, man. No, I had the chicks. The chicks, they're getting pretty old now. They're getting cobwebs around them, but, you know, Waikeria was the second home for Mr. Mikaere.
Oh.
Hey, I have a bit of a question. So how you as well working in education, and for you as well, Ed, coming obviously your journey in and out, how important do you think it is for the generation, for younger generations, even people my age, who are having troubles, whether it be they go into like juvie or they're just getting into trouble, twiddling thumbs, next thing you know they're lighting fires, stealing cars, ram raids, not okay, but like how important do you think it is to keep children involved in Māori tradition and in the whānau and things like where they're involved in and processes for like tangi, for example, or do you know what? I don't know if they're the right type of language, but how important do you think it is?
I mean, it's essential, right? It's not about, for me, it's not about whether it's Māori or it's another culture. It's about identity, right? If people know who they are and where they come from, it grounds them, and therefore, I mean, obviously not all. There's always going to be, for those people like she doesn't know what she's talking about, there's always going to be kids out there that are just struggling, and that's usually generational, right? It's not just, it goes so far back. So for me, I think the identity, so for us being Māori, it's the identity of knowing those things is essential. And I'm not saying that education is the only path to success. I'm saying as a teacher, obviously it's very important, but there are more than one type. There's more than one type of education, right? There's the classroom, there's the marae. Both offer very important things, and I think you need both.
There's Google. Straight up, man. That thing like
just stay off Wikipedia.
Anyway, enforcing going along with the kazi, that's English or education is paramount. Engari, like.
What type of education though?
You know, so you've got one hand for your boss and one hand for yourself. That's how I've been. That was the hand that we were brought up with. So you had a hammer hand, and then you had your hand to feed your family. That there was a concept that was brought up with my grandparents. So my grandparents brought me up, right? So they brought up my mum and her 4 brothers, her 4 siblings. They don't come back home as much as they do. Their education is boom. They got mahi. They do all of that in Australia. They do really well. All my family have. And then you were brought up with them. What happened to you? You know, so the society that they were in at that time was really tight. You know, they had all their cousins and stuff, and so like how society has changed and how it changes every like 10, 20 years. like, you look at the music now, what the hell is that stuff?
Yeah, but the generation that Barry and that were brought up in, sorry, Kazi, to name you, you know, our parents are still focused on being successful in mainstream, right?
Yeah.
So it's only this generation that we are seeing that success is something different, or there is more than one type of education. Like we weren't taught stuff in school about tikanga and things like that. You just learnt it only if you went home.
Yeah. You asked Ned about if he believes that someone can recover, can actually learn from the time. Do you believe it's a system that we're doing it right with taking people to prison in this format?
Do I believe that prisons are getting it right?
Bring people back?
No, because we're constantly having the same people reoffend, or there is this I don't know. I honestly don't. I don't think they are, but I don't know enough about it. But I know that there are programs that people have tried to that looks at the core issues of why people are offending, rather as a person as a whole, rather than just
depends on the mind of the
certain
person
aspects
that
of
you're
them.
trying to influence as well. So someone might see that as I'll take that. Yeah, I'll help myself with that. Look at themselves and go, actually, I've got 9 years left. I'll take that, tick that box.
Don't you believe there needs to be some type of healing or something? There's a reason why people offend, right?
Well then maybe like you have a look and there has to be an intervention.
Yeah,
intervention. Yeah, there has to be something like that. And that's got to, like, for that to happen and for that to reach home, has to come from the whole of the hapū.
Yeah, see, I believe a little bit different to the Kazi. I believe that there's something inside. I mean, obviously there's drugs and there's all of that, but this is sort of not really in my area of expertise, but people join groups, whether it be church groups or gangs or whatever, because they're looking for that sense of belonging, right? So if they had that within their
community,
culture, community, if they weren't urbanised and didn't return to the marae, then they look elsewhere. Like, don't we all want to belong to something when we're not in the city? We miss home, we miss our family, so we try and belong somewhere else, and it's not always the best fit.
So that's why,
or the best choice.
That's why, and there you go, cuz that's why I stood up and said what I needed to say before I bounced at your mum's sonny, and that was to bring you home.
Yeah, I was saying to Leo, that was very beautiful, bro. Like so like Yvonne, who like raised my mum pretty much, and their short history, because not only did they live in Manaia, but they were very pale, coloured-eyed girls and boys, you know, and you're growing up on the farm and stuff, you know. Even they, at that time where it was when they were going to school, and they grew up like hardcore, tough, you know. I remember they were saying that they grew up on rags and whatnot, and the horses and whatever. I mean, it's beautiful.
Yeah, Auntie Maria driving a tractor down, gumboots, shorts. Love you, Auntie Maria. That's my favourite.
You know, and at a time where racism was very prominent for Māori people, especially like in things like education. You know, there's my aunts, and they're the little pale, coloured-eyed girls who were walking home to Manaia. You know, so like they had
they were beautiful, and they you know. But
they had the feisty side too.
Have a good time.
Yeah, hell yeah. But you know, there was in my household growing up, because obviously I'm brown. You know, people straight away assume that I'm Māori, which is not wrong. But you know, living with Yvonne, she had an internalised racism where they were raised to think. It's kind of hard to explain, because they're white facing, and and they kind of, not that they got away with anything, but I don't think they somehow truly fully understood what it meant to be brown and brown-eyed at a time like that when they're in school. They faced like the opposite sort of racism, you know, because they were the pale white kids. And because she was quite a few generations above age and stuff, you know, when I was at school and then wanting to learn Te Reo Māori in school, and stuff like that. It wasn't as if it was discouraged heavily, but it really wasn't that encouraged, because even coming back to Manaia Marae, you know, all the aunts and stuff, they loved it. They have great memories and stuff. It was great. But then, I mean, they really weren't there long enough to really know any of the tikanga. And even right up towards the end for most of them, unfortunately, simple traditions, you know, they were the ones that would come and travel over Whatangi and stuff, but they were never really there to help out. I kind of take that back, actually, that's not really fair, but I just mean we weren't completely immersed, but then neither were they, is what I'm getting at, you know? It's not, but it was like, it's just a weird flip side to think that in that time where many people's grandparents and parents were being punished for being Māori, you know, and quite literally on the same road that they're walking home from, you know, there's my aunts, my mum, you know what I mean, getting bullied because they're white.
Yeah, like, it's that whole, I remember we'd come back and I'd be sitting with, you know, the cousins who lived in Manaia and school holidays, and some of our other cousins would rock up and I'd be sitting there going, yeah, look at those townies. Yeah. And we'd go to, and because I was there, because I was there so much, I felt that I was, you know, one of the Manaia kids. And then just recently I went to a party in Manaia, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm the townie. For a second it felt that way, and I thought I used to be able to call the others the townie, but because I've gone away and done a different path, even though I've come home frequently, I'm like, oh my gosh, am I a townie now?
See, like,
so that what you're talking about is you belong, but do you really belong?
Yeah.
And the simple way you can do that is just like ask the local, hey, was that fella down at the creek with us? And he's like, I didn't remember seeing him at the creek. And that's how you know.
And that's the funny thing, is we've been talking lately about who's passed on and who belongs to who. And someone can go past and he can go to me, oh, that's blah, blah, blahs. And straight away, because I knew the older people, see? Yeah. But there's lots of generations there now that just don't know them.
Yeah, and you say the same thing to the cuzzy. Like I said to someone, I'll say the same thing to someone else, and they go, hey, who's that? I'm like,
hey, it happened today on the bridge.
Hey, so there's a bit of a strike system. How many times
you got to, man?
You hit the mic. Straight
Not
up.
me, Aotearoa.
Bro, what's that box? They even tell me the rules before we go on. The rules make it. We have to stipulate those right at the start.
I want to ask you guys another question. I just want to remind the audience that we have the pizza giveaway tonight.
Oh yes, yum.
So for the people watching us right now, the first one that goes in our chat. There's a chat on YouTube if you're watching us live, and type pizza for my whānau.
Pizza for my whānau.
Pizza for my whānau.
Please
so
spell
the
it correctly.
First one who writes it down.
W-H.
How do you spell whānau?
W-H for A with a macron, which is actually R. N, N, A, and a U.
Should we forgive the macron if the person doesn't?
Absolutely not. Not all keyboards have got macrons enabled.
If we're in the Hauraki, it would not be a macron, because a macron is a French.
A double vowel, please. He'd like a double vowel.
I just want to put out there that this is probably the most...
Wait, is that right? So the macron is actually not...
It's not traditional.
It's not traditional, no.
Double vowels.
So in the Hauraki,
so it would just be spelled
Tēnei te maru o te Hauraki, even though we're in te whitianga kupe, Ngāti Hei, we will be
we're in Ngāti Hei territory.
And like...
I'll play
I think he's got it. So it's for the people who are watching us and can't see behind the cameras, Ed's son just quickly grabs the pizza box and he wrote pizza for my whānau, and he's very excited.
If I can share.
Man, come here, man. You gotta show this. Come here, man. Now
show us your comment on YouTube.
Which camera, Taylor? That one there? Come here, bro, next to me.
I'll share a story with you. One, bro. Pizza's his favourite food, man.
I think he's got it.
Hey, hold on. There's no macron or double vowel.
No, you got some here. We give it to the people that are listening, man. Like, honestly.
I think he got the pizza, man. Fair enough.
Yeah, boy. Easy. Another trip over there?
We'll talk to Henry. We can give two if someone else types it. We'll do that.
Karangatu ki a matua ki, because ka hoa atu koe ki aia mō tōna hurito.
Oh, karawi.
Yeah, there you go. You can give it to Uncle Keith.
That's number 3, isn't it?
Oh, no. I didn't strike it because this thing's. I'm gonna get it up there now. So.
Okay, so I had a question, but now we started unpacking some other things. So that's new for me that the macaron is actually not traditional. And how much of that actually comes in the language and in the culture that the Maori people embrace? Like, is it a common thing to do? They're like, no, it's fine. This was not part of our culture, but like we're bringing in because now we use it and now it is what it is.
So what are you asking? Macrons or no macrons?
In general,
what do we take on board and what don't we?
Yeah, because I guess a lot of things happened that we don't want as part of our culture, but a lot of other things, they come to us and we want to embrace them.
I guess for me, I look at the masters of the reo and see what they're doing.
Yeah.
Kia hone, and then see if it lines up with our...
How we do it, yeah.
Yeah, with our language and hauraki, manaia.
Like society, a lot has changed as well. Like,
my man.
the reo back then was raw. It wasn't written. It was memorized. Your brain was always working. So this 10% stuff, our people would, I can almost literally believe it too, that they were using more than that. So it was kept within there, and then within your line, it was passed, not through like, we'll just have a special kōrero today, everyday living. Mai te timatanga o te rā, a te ki te wā, ki te moi. And it was just every day. Eat, tiko, and breathe it, you know.
It was the common tongue.
So like...
Yeah. So a lot of rules that come around some of that stuff is...
Right.
Like, so mataora has just come back in. Not just, but it's starting to be revived as a part of our identity. And a lot of the things that, you know, this is just my belief. This is just how I think about it. And, you know, you have to have the reo. You have to have all of this. And, you know, okay, if that was at the start of when mataora was, or when it was getting done, how would that have been a rule when they were all... That was the only language that they were speaking. It was the only language they spoke,
yeah.
Scratch my head. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I've heard some good kōrero around, you know, moko and stuff.
Yeah, engari. You have this as a remembrance as to, when you look at yourself, then you have a responsibility. So from there, you just do not stay as that person. When I was 10 years ago, 13, 10 years ago, I was getting laughed at, bro, because that was that end of that era where it was just coming through. And the fellow who did me, kia ora bro, Māori, Stu, and he explained to me, you're going to get ridiculed for this, brother. Are you ready to handle that responsibility? And at that time I just had that. So you start off with your ihu. And I was like, yeah, okay, what else? You know? And I said, I'm just going to go and ask my koro. It's the only person I needed to worry about. He said to me, well, doesn't really matter what I say, because you're just going to go and get it done whether I'm here or whether I'm not here. Doesn't, you know? So you go and do what you... what am I to do now? You may as well go. Just go on, go. And I was like, okay. And like anyone else that wanted to say something to try and discriminate it, you know, water on duck's back just goes past. And that there is part of the journey. It's not plastered on, I'm up there, you know, it's, you know, are you ready to take those responsibilities? And that's another part of actually the journey of why you want to succeed and not go back into the correction.
That mana.
Yeah. That's another part of ahika, which we're talking about, you know, how we, you know, learn the seasons, learn the stars, know the weather patterns, you know when it's going to happen throughout the months, and when you plant your mara, when you dig it up, when the highest floods are going to happen. Now that we're having like crazy summer of cyclones and rain, that was the last weather. It wasn't as bad as the last weather bomb in 2005. That was massive.
So, Kaz, are you saying that if you have a mataora or moko kaiwa, you have a responsibility to have that mātauranga Māori?
Oh no, it gives you a
knowledge.
It gives you an essence to
Like a
Educate
starting point
yourself.
for some
Yeah.
that want to know more.
To
Can I
educate
just
yourself.
quickly translate, just in case any of our listeners,
sorry.
including Leo, that might not know what some of these terms are? So they were talking about their facial tattoos, which are traditional.
They're called ancient stains. Yeah. The
Oh.
ancient markings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Just to clarify.
So
Yeah.
that you-
mataora moko kaua.
Yeah. That it's
Yeah.
very much a thing that you don't have to be. First of all, you don't have to prove that you're Māori. If you fuck up a Māori, you're Māori. You don't have to
Māori
speak.
fufu.
Yeah, you don't have to
Aye.
speak te reo Māori fluently to be Māori, or
Aye.
to get a moko. So, yeah, just to clarify.
Do you consider disrespectful if someone who is not Māori or not from Aotearoa gets a...
Good question, bro. I'd
It's
look at
called
it.
something else, though, right?
I'd look at it. I'd look at it like that. If they, this is just
Yeah, tattoo.
purely. This is just mine.
Oh god.
If they mau ana te mataoro, te kauai, and they start to walk in the path of the Māori way in some way or other, right, pai.
That's a hard question.
But if they do it and they get lipstick and they go, and then, like, that's just, whaka.
I don't know.
Whaka
I
iki te
think
mana. Well, that's just me. That's just my point of view. If they, because like we did have our tauiwi whānau that our people wanted to have around us, and they know, they put the ancient stains on them too. Yeah, but then there's another side to the coin. It's just my point.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to broadcast my view.
Go on.
It's all right.
It's healthy.
Well,
I think
up to you.
I think
it's a healthy discussion.
Okay, Nate, to me, I think, because I see so many Māori, I'm on a few pages that are about moko kauai and things, and
Aye.
I see so many wahine that are asking almost permission of others on what they think, and do they think that, and there's that argument about should you be fluent in te reo before you get a moko kauai or mataora, or should you this or should you that, and the best answer I've ever seen is if you whakapapa Māori, if there is Māori blood in your ancestry, that's enough.
You have every right.
But I like what Ed's saying, that with it, you would hope would come some sort of responsibility, not to be fluent, not to this, not to that, but at least to fight, to follow some type of Māori,
That was the
to gain
It's
more
not just for
Māori
show.
knowledge. Yeah.
before the brother had, had blessed me with my the starting of my journey. That's all he asked of me, and
That's beautiful,
and that's what he had asked of me. We had that kōrero, reo, bro. Nah, I don't know reo. I don't know as much reo as I do now, but I lived it. Big difference. It's still the same. Orite.
Yeah.
But the reo is key.
Yeah.
Reo is king, So you can see that our people have they were shut down with their reo, but they still maintained and lived the way of the warrior.
Yeah.
The
Those that
warrior,
were in the village, those that stayed in
Yeah.
the village and went urbanised.
Yeah.
But it's funny because wearing a moko kauai, for me, I needed to have somebody, because people come up to me all the time and blah, 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 and te reo, and and if I didn't know how to speak it, and they're like, but I'm not saying you need to be fluent, but there's almost that want to have that mana alongside
And
your
it-
moko kauai.
and it encourages you. It just gives you that
Yeah.
inspiration, eh? Every
everyone-
morning when you go,
they see
what's
your
the music
face.
you put on every morning? You go, boop, and it inspires you to get, get
Keep
going.
going.
Let's go, and then you look at yourself in the mirror.
Maybe a starting point for some people's journey.
Acres.
And these days, it's also just to clarify again, that's also different from what people most
that's
commonly
the-
see as a tamoko as well. Which just to clarify that
Oh yeah.
getting a tamoko for someone who doesn't fuck up a Māori is there's a full-on other term for that. I think
Yeah,
it's
what
just
is
called
it?
a tribal tattoo.
Yeah.
But
something like that.
and
There
it's
is a
not
name.
quite the same journey as getting a moko kauai or
Anything facial, eh?
but then also there's the idea that what I've seen recently, because there's at one very small point, which I'll happily admit, I thought people were getting moko kauai, especially women, because it was trendy. And this is where I discovered my opinion about what it stands, and I did a bit of research, and then I just sort of figured how do I actually feel about it, because in the idea if I get one, it's on my face. Is it's a reclaiming, and for generations, obviously the loss of the language and all that sort of stuff, it's a reclaiming, and to be able to wear that on your face,
It's
I
amazing.
think it's what a bigger What a bigger fuck you, really.
I'm
Māori and it's on my face, you can see it. Like, it's not like you're expected to walk around with a pukana all day, but you don't have to when it's on your chin.
My cousin says it beautifully. You know, you're practicing your mana motuhake.
Yeah.
And tēnā koe kazi. Love you, my cuz. And there's been some massive influences in our village, and now that we have a wharekura there, from Kohangareo, infants all the way to
high
tertiary
school.
level, or
Year 13.
Entry to tertiary level, I think.
Tertiary, yeah.
Tertiary, whatever. And then that there is just like a big thing, like, yeah, it's a kura aiwi, so if you've gone through kura kaupapa Māori, bilingual, and you want to further that when you go into high school, no mai, you know. But the thing is that where it could fail our people is that the parents need to be on board too. No, here, we're all tēnā. No, solo dad rocking it, bro. I'm going to put it out there. Like, we're not ticking boxes. We want our kids to have the best of the reo that they have. Our kura has some of the best speakers in the country, and I can guarantee you that, and some of the best tautoko I ever have seen in my life. And sending my kids there is an honour. So I uphold that by walking the way that is te ara tika me te ara pono. And it's not always going to be like that. For me, man, I fall off the rails hard. But then it's about getting back up. It's not how you fall, it's how you rise.
Yeah,
you know?
it's okay.
When you get knocked down, you just get back up. But for them to have every opportunity that they could have to not have to walk down our paths, or my path anyway. Yeah, that's he wawata. Tino matua or tino tataki taku ngākau, right real close to my heart. So, yeah.
How do you guys see the role of gangs in Aotearoa, New Zealand?
In what way?
That's what I want to know. Like how they are out there. And you are someone, working with education, work with the youth, so you understand very well influence.
They're affiliated already, born and bred. Already, any chance they get, they want to let you know what colours or who they belong to. I guess it's an effect of urbanisation for Māori. I mean, this is just my opinion, people. Please don't. I'm not an expert. I haven't done a PhD in it or anything.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. Come for me. I think it's. I think it is people looking for their identity, but more than that, people looking to belong and a sense of whānau. And I think that's human beings in general, isn't it? We want to belong to, especially if we're away from our kāinga tuturu or from our, our place like Manaia, then you're always going to be looking for something that gives you that sense that you belong and you're accepted. Maybe it's about acceptance.
Yep. What you got?
I mean, obviously, I'm not going to say that I'm a fan of the criminal acts that are committed by gangs on a daily basis. It's not. But I've also met some really nice gang members, their families, and
salute to the brothers.
And some of them you wouldn't even know. So I'm not pro the criminal stuff when it affects people's lives, definitely not. But I understand. It's like belonging to a church. I understand. You just want to belong and you want to have a whānau around you, and when you can't go home or you've lost where home is, like a lot of the kids in my classes, where are you from? I'm from Auckland. No, where's your family from? I don't know, whaia. And that's real. They are third generation urbanised
Māori moved from there. The village that they come from.
They don't know their villages. They don't know their marae. They don't know their iwi, and that would be quite a few of the kids, and that I come across. And I teach 76-old kids a week, and that would be one of the biggest things. You try and do pepeha with them and ask them where they come from. And is there someone you can ask? No. No. And they honestly believe I'm from Auckland. And I mean, obviously, if they're Ngāti Whātua, they probably are.
Be,
but these kids don't know where they're from. And so, when they see their parents belonging to the gangs and being accepted and it being a whānau, then for them, that's maybe what they see as their iwi. I don't know. Gosh, someone will shoot me for that.
A lot of the brothers and a lot of the sisters and the juvies and our young whānau that are coming up through the correction system, they get outcast. They got nowhere to go. Nowhere. So they get released, and you walk out the door and you're like, okay. So they know that when they get released, they're going to walk out of nowhere. And sometimes, to some of the brothers that have nowhere to go, that's that option. And to feel a part of something. We're a whānau-orientated culture.
We are.
So being disconnected from your whānau or being, taken away from it, you find that. And maybe having the gangs there like that as part of the society is just how it is. It's not a good thing, it's not a bad thing. But the brothers in there are actually starting to educate themselves and starting to pick up a lot of their Māoritanga and starting to develop that. And then they're starting to have a look at the mental health issues within themselves, some of the whānaus. And you got to give them credit, our whānau credit for trying to do something to change. It might take another couple of generations for it to be able to hit home so that it, it'll be more discreet maybe. I don't know. You see people walking around in suits now and they just got this little thing overseas and they're like,
yeah, overseas you wouldn't even know.
So they've become they've
become smart about it.
So it's just the society.
Yeah, you could be sitting next to a prezi on the Gold Coast and you wouldn't even know. Fine suit, no facial tattoos, nothing that would distinguish them as the president of the whatever gang.
I've always seen that it's kind of like, I think humans are like, even in Māori people, we had hapū and iwi, we have big groups. I think humans naturally congregate. And I think there'll always be people that don't like each other and therefore people that are outcasted, whether you're an individual or a group. I think when it comes to some of the gangs, from what I've seen, but it's from what I've seen, not necessarily personally been involved with or first-handed experiences, is that it is a lot of the community and the longing and the searching. But I also think it's just a couple big guys that are taking advantage of that as well. Because within that comes power. If you have people coming to you and they find a sense of belonging and for whatever reason leadership falls in your lap, you have a lot of power there. Yep. And I think a lot of people are led astray in those groups because you also do, what you were saying, Ed, that there are a lot of cool kind of collectives that come out of, what you see as a gang, whether it be people helping families, helping their own, kind of vibe, education. And then obviously you see all the really nasty stuff. I think it's just
Now there's
a little bit of loose, a little bit of loose power. I think
we talked about alcohol last time we met, and alcohol has a nasty effect on the people that actually was introduced to that not that long ago, right?
Yeah, bro. So I talked about alcohol. I just brought that up with the cousin the other day. Was it? Yeah.
Wasn't me.
That's this great song by Shaggy. Wasn't me.
You're I don't remember.
We talked about it. So it's introduced in our country less than 200 years ago, maybe 200 years. Yeah, about that. And give or take a couple of 50. But so our people have not adapted to it. So it's been around Europe and that for 2,000 years. So evolution of the body has become immune to it. But our people are still trying to develop the...
Same could be said about carbohydrates.
It's also another... Yeah, that literally is another... It's the same thing. It's the same idea.
Watercress, puha, all of that, kamo.
Living
kumara,
off the land to anything processed.
The leaves of the kumara, everything was not wasted. So, and we had our own little concoctions or things that made us and no, straight up, the totara berry had an ingredient in it that could heighten your dopamine level.
Please be advised not to go and eat it.
Yeah, do not. Do not. Do not.
Oh no, they're good. There's nothing wrong with them. You only wake up at the back of
totara trees all chopped down all over New Zealand.
No. There's good rongoa out there that was used for our people. They were that in touch with nature. it was their environment. So they studied it. They learnt it. They lived it. They knew that. Explain photosynthesis to me.
You're right, cuz. So going back to the alcohol thing, there's actually some science behind it, which I can't speak in specifics about. But like the whole idea of like colonization and alcohol, where it's introduced to different countries, I mean, it's a thing. It's a common thing. People call it the Asian glow. Same things like certain alcohols in Asian cultures and stuff, because it wasn't always traditionally drunk or in large amounts. They're known to go flush red, flush hot, you know. Yeah. And it's in your DNA. And that shows again, like what you said, I introduced like carbohydrates, fast foods, processed sugars as well. Obviously, you see the effects of it. What's generational diabetes. Yeah. I mean, it's introduced all over the place. I mean, but it's just what sucks is that I'm just trying to decide if I'm actually going to say it like this.
Say it.
I will. Fuck it. So like, white man brings over bad stuff to people who have never had it before. These people have like bad side effects. White man goes, oh no, you bad. Like, judges them for it, takes no consideration for the fact of like their own history and the small history that these people have with this new introduced substance, or, you know, and then we kind of get punished for it. Like, you think about like, there's no real...
Mushies.
And that's all for tonight. We're about to send Edward home. He's done. You can take the pizza and the mushroom.
You can have why Māori.
You know, we're talking about carbohydrates, bro. You can't take away the base pizza, bro.
Okay.
Shout out to you, bro.
Here we have
base pizzas, bro. You're the shit, bro. Man.
Also the reason for our poor health.
But yeah, I think...
I think you're right. What you're saying in regards to that is correct.
Colonization, but it's a genuine genetic thing.
Yeah,
there's been some science behind it.
You can see that certain types of alcohol, and this. Sorry, I have no scientific supporting evidence right now, but
real evidence,
you can see. I can name all the parties I've ever been to in my life. Certain alcohols tend to affect certain, shall I say, races, cultures differently. So. I have always found, this is me personally, and this is just my opinion, everyone has one, it's not right or wrong, it's just mine, that dark spirits tend to lead the people I've seen to being aggro. Versus the lighter spirits, I haven't so much, I've seen more of a happy buzz, but so pick your poison, I guess. I don't know.
The substances,
Oh, maybe I'll do a thesis on it.
What about you, bro? Does it...
What about in your country? Your homeland?
I mean,
I haven't been drinking for almost 5 years now.
So, yeah. Did you used to drink to get smashed?
Well, that was one of the reasons why I got a job here. I got a job as a bar manager in Whitianga. So I was making cocktails, and I always loved drinking.
Well, you either become a real good barman or an alcoholic.
Well, but that was the thing. Like,
both.
He's both, babe. That's what made me so
Ring
good.
Ring now to share your stories.
In Brazil, we can drink in the streets, which when I came to New Zealand, I thought it was bad. But then when I went back, I realized it was actually better, because you don't hide. You just have a beer on the way to work, or like coming back from work, you know, like, as soon as you can, and you're out in the streets, like, you're comfortable with having a drink, like, you're not hiding or having extra drinks because it's limited, because, you know, like, I have to do it. So I changed my mind about that. And another thing was the time. So like in New Zealand, all the parties and all the places will close early. Yep. And first I thought, that's good. But then I realized, as soon as you at your peak of happiness, 1 a.m. and the pub is pumping, they come with the closing time, and you want to shoot them on the mouth. So I realized that actually that made it worse, because you're so, you know, like, it's the time that you had all the alcohol and the fun.
Hunting time.
And they send you home. And you're like, come on. That's why people fight. So like the drinking culture in the country started to put me off. I was like, these people are not coming here to have a good time. The majority of the people are going too hard, too quick, because their culture taught them to, because that's what it is, that there's a cap. You got to finish drink at some.
Drink as fast as you can to get as much in.
And then I realized that
binge drinking.
I was the pusher, you know, like I was the guy serving that. I was, you know, like legally
Please, it was just alcohol. Just alcohol.
Yeah,
Only alcohol
and legally.
And that put me off. So that put me off, you know, like, and then I realized that like there were so many other beautiful substances that can do amazing things to humans, but we don't talk about them because they're illegal. And I'm like, that doesn't make sense. You're damaging people with what you can consider legal and okay. And you're missing a big opportunity to bring a nice conversation to the table. But now people are too busy going hard on the piss. So like that put me off. I'm like, I respect alcohol and I think it's a beautiful substance when you do it right. You know, but like it was just not appealing to me. And the thing with it's a cool conversation that we're having because although I'm pretty white, as you can see, coming to New Zealand, like I'm a foreigner.
What's
you know,
that?
like I came from the.
What are you talking about?
I'm a foreigner, and then suddenly I'm experiencing some different sort of xenophobia. You know, like because some people don't like foreigners. You know, like they see me and it's fine. As soon as I open my mouth, suddenly I'm a problem.
Really?
For them. Yeah.
Not to me, brother.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
Thankfully. So that taught me as well. They're like, yeah. They're like, as someone who is white and aware of my privilege, because that's what I'm doing in my life. I'm like, of course I go through shit and some things are not great, but I'm lucky in so many senses, and I gotta acknowledge that. I gotta make sure that I'm in check with my privilege.
Yoda.
So I can be better, you know, like because a lot of people didn't have the opportunities that I had. And even though sometimes I get a bit of a look, oh, you're not from here, what are you doing here, you know, like kind of that thing. It does happen. I know, right?
I get
weird.
that too.
Yeah, see, you know, like, so that's why for me it's
I get the other one.
when you came here straight up and you were like, Awhina, what's up with the podcast? I'm like, well, for me it's an opportunity to bring conversations to the table, especially Māori culture.
If people don't like it, don't listen.
People don't like it, you don't listen, it's fine. But like it's an opportunity for us to have this corridor because we
I
inspire a lot of
because
people, right?
like you can actually reach out to the millions listening at home and the millions tuning in. No, but you can reach out to them and that's good because that is what we're trying to do with our people. Reach out to our people because they would
bring back the old school.
What you've just said is if you put it on the flip, it works with us, you know. So you basically just hit the nail on the head, eh? Like with how it needs to happen, like realize our privileges, understand our responsibilities, and stand tall, and don't hit that thing for the third time whilst I'm out. But like, you know, just to stand tall, accept it, you know, and then if people still have something, you know, against you or whatever, what you've done, at least you've cleared that for yourself and for those people, so you can move forward, and that is something that maybe that they have to work through.
It's on them, right?
It's on them.
It's on them.
Not necessarily because you put it on them, like, but it's something that you want to. You hope that you could work through, and better for the other people following us to take as a. Well, I remember when my dad was doing this and that, and then they can make their own decisions on how they can handle the situation that they're dealt with in the future. Maybe. We don't know. We don't know what society will be like in that time, you know.
I hope it gets better.
I think it's only going to improve.
I hope it gets better.
But things always get better before.
Well, I was hoping that they have flying cars of skateboards, bro. Like Back to the Future. I mean, that was 2015. Like, see Michael J. Fox with those, you know, and
That's like in the 80s, wasn't it?
No, but that was a little bit
2015.
funny, man.
That must have been the revamp.
They still bought out those Nike shoes that he had.
They actually made them.
Bro, they were bad, eh? Off the chain.
I've seen the car too.
Oh,
yeah.
I love shoes.
I just like your timeline.
Yeah,
Like, that movie was 100% out in like the 80s, 90s, and you're like, yeah, 2015.
Where have you been,
I'm
though?
like, absolutely not.
Bro, you asked my son, he knows all about the car, the DeLorean. What's that thing they put the blender in? The blender, what's it called? See, look at that. Bro. You're telling me it's the 80s?
Pretty sure that car came out in like the 60s.
Bro, that DeLorean.
That's it, the DeLorean. I've seen someone who owns one. It's so ugly. Sorry,
I thought we were
personal
talking
opinion.
about Mandalorian, like the
No,
Baby Yoda.
the spinner. Oh, he's so cute though.
Well, that,
What's
there, see,
DeLorean?
that was in the
What's
age of
DeLorean?
like
It's the car.
Star Wars that was
It's
brought out in
the
the
car that
60s,
looks like
70s
the Back to the Future car.
I don't care about cars.
So what we're gonna do? We're gonna finish this
bum.
podcast and bring the kids on, so we can have a more modern conversation, right?
We'll touch back on the subject of rongoa and
cool.
happy substances.
Can I just introduce my kids?
Yes, please.
Hey, so, kei a koe wanganui.
One at a time. One at a time. Can you bring one
Okay,
right
so
in the
this
middle
is-
here? One at a time.
Okay. Nā kahu pōkere o Tāmaki, Awhina Mikaere. Nā kahu pōkere o Tāmaki means
You come
the
first, bro.
Nighthawk of Auckland, Ngāti Whātua.
Stand
This is
in
my
between
nan's-
dad and aunt. Yeah.
Nan's given name from 1935, Runanga. At the time he was born, 2:30 in the morning on what day? Nah, 10th of
Are you my
10th of
child?
November 2010. He came out, and as he was nearing his last bit of his birth, helicopter come out 2:30 in the morning. And I was like, whoa, Chad, someone must have had an accident. And I was like, what's up? And like, oh no, they're here just in case there's a problem with a boy. So that was a modern Nighthawk, which is a kaitiaki of Ngāti Whātua, one way or another.
Historical.
My sort of way that I could give him that name. Yeah,
Ka
see,
pai.
bro? Yeah. This is Kaya.
Hello.
Yeah, this is my piri pawa, Kaya Hinipo Mikaere. Hangs out with her auntie a lot, and I'm very thankful
My
for
pity
that.
power.
My piri pawa.
Watch out. Should be mine said.
Yeah, no, but I'm very thankful because she still gets to hang out with a positive Māori influence for her, which
Before
is
10
family.
o'clock at night.
Yeah. So this is blessed her. Blessed to have my daughter because she, in our household, she like tries to, but yeah, she's cool. And it's a blessing to have their mother bring us so much joy. Changed my life. This fella here wasn't born at the time my grandfather passed away.
Jump on the side, bud.
My grandfather was like one of the closest things to me at that time. And when he passed, he come not far after his birthday, like 3 months. The old man passed in November, and February the 25th, carried on his name, Awhina Mikaere. Just before he left, we asked Pop, April and I, or their mother and I, asked if we could name this fella after my grandfather. He said, and this is where I want to go to next time, only Ngāruna, waiho te ingoa Ronald. Like, okay. So that's why he's only got that name. When we went to go sign that thing, what's it?
Birth certificate?
Yeah, that thing. They go, oh, what's his middle name? He's got to have a middle name. Nah. And I was going to just leave Mikaere out of it too and just give him that one name, but yeah, it wasn't Larry. So Awhina Mikaere, after my grandfather. Yeah, which was pretty fitting, really.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Thank you. Beautiful whānau.
Beat it. He's got a...
Loving Lucy.
They've all got their own characters, and they're actually my pauwhirinaki. They're my lean-to too. And I'm their lean-to too. It was a half a strike. It was a foul ball, on the side. They were my saviour, bro. They turned my life around.
Ka pai, cuz.
Stop being one of these and start being one of those, so father. So, yeah.
Solo dads. Whoop, whoop.
I think it's a great thing for brothers getting out too, that getting a chance to reconnect with your children, missing a lot of their time away from them, and being given a chance like that was a blessing for me. So yeah. Now the word Edward. So our people give us English names first. Lucky because do you have an English name?
Carl.
See?
Well, yeah, I did, but Nana saved
did?
me.
Yes.
Sorry, nothing wrong with English names.
Oh, no.
Do I look like a Sarah Jane?
Sarah Jane. Yeah, I thought so. Okay. So the English name was put on our people so that you could not get teased and you'd have a bit of an easier pathway to being able to get along in society. How I believed it anyway, you know. I don't know whether it's correct, but a lot of them had that name.
And the first and last name were a Christian name, so
Yeah.
hence Mikaere, which translates to Michael.
Which was like one of our tupuna. We named them after, so. Because we only had one name.
True that.
And that one name was your only name, your name, you know. And it's beautiful. Like,
Gosh, that's Indigenous people across the world, right? Given colonised English names.
wow, no, yeah. But, you know, like, we're given names on a certain event that happened at a time or some little action that happened when you were born or something. That was how it was done. The environment you were born in, like, a lot of the time gave you your name.
Tika.
What's that chick with the Indian?
Oh, I don't know what he's talking about, sorry.
He loves to have jokes, so he's joking. He loves jokes over there, big fella. So we try and have kata wā, sitting in your home with your family and spending some time. It's probably the best thing I can invest into my children is my time.
Ka pai.
And whakaora te reo ki wangani mā tēnei whare. So we try and revive the reo inside our home because that's where it was destroyed. You learn everything in your home. So if you revive it back into your home, you know,
Starts at home, huh?
tipua, you know, tipua ki roto, I pua wai ki waho. So it lives within and it starts to just out normally, and then, you know, you find us, when we first started like 3 years ago, it was kind of, they were shy and stuff like that, but the incentive was that, you know, whatever they liked at that time was maki tānara, that McDonald's, they could go up to the counter, they could order whatever they wanted, so long as it was ordered in Māori.
I like that.
Yeah,
I really like that.
There was
Well, they started getting onto it and going, tētahi Big Mac over there, and they're like pointing. So they got, but no, it was a way to encourage the reo. So we just started going through drive-throughs so that they had to speak into it, you know, and that there turned a lot of the people's heads. So they know those kids that go up and then they speak Māori and they're, so those people are like, would you like a drink? And they're trying to point to the Fanta and stuff. You know, aye. So in some way, I suppose our kids are not pushing it out there, but helping those people that want to undercoverly learn reo.
Trying to desensitise people to hearing it every day.
Yeah, and pushing those boundaries.
Yeah. So giving them challenges, and you know they can do that. You know, sitting in the middle of, where was it now? In the April, I think we were in.
Where was it now?
Oh, sorry, it's my bad. We were in the airport.
Funny, it's real.
We were in the airport and sitting around a table and like we were just having a good old yarn and a bit of a crack up, but all in real. And these people were just like.
Was that when we were at the fish and chip shop the other night?
Oh yeah, fish and chips. You know, that's pretty cool, mate.
I mean, no, it was fish and chips. So I can't cover it.
Fish and carbs.
The other night.
Carbohydrates. Up to the base pizza.
I really appreciate you guys coming and being so open and having this good korero about, you know, like what we should be doing every day. You know, bringing the culture.
Just being honest,
to the
forefront.
Like,
not letting the stereotypes.
Yeah. Just because someone's got a facial tattoo doesn't mean that they're always going to be a gang member or violent or scary. Sometimes it's just they're wearing their...
Sometimes it's just scary.
They're wearing their culture on the outside.
Oh, there I am, you know.
That's not the facial tattoo, cuz.
No, it's the teeth, bro. White teeth. Yeah, I get that now and again, you know.
Nah.
But like since the Kazi planted the seed at a time which was pretty bawdy for both of us, like here we are.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, my bro.
It's been me.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Would we
It's
do it
been
again?
so nice.
Yeah. And
are we going to ask you back?
Congratulations on the mission. You know, like it sounds like you got the family moving forward in a lot of ways. So congratulations on that.
Thank you. We're all about trying to bring our tupuna and their beliefs back in as much as we can.
Yeah, no, take that time and thank all the tupuna that have been a part of our...
Yeah, absolutely. Wouldn't be who we are without them.
Kia ora. You know, and mihi, you know, like for our reo, big shout out to some of the whānaus taking time out of their lives to
Teach us.
kaupapa, to teach us. And like with no intention but to see us flourish in reo, so that we're able to, you know, whakaora te reo.
I think we're very blessed to come from a place like Manaia.
Yeah.
And, you know, iwi politics aside and all of that, we're from Manaia. I love Manaia. I love the people of Manaia. Ne?
Yeah, we'll do it. We love Manaia. We'll die for it, and we even block a bridge for it, cuz.
COVID, watch out.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes,
I had so much, by the way, just like last night, I had so much faith in Manaia. I was like, they better close that fucking bridge.
Oh, yeah, it was your cousins that did it.
Your cousin.
We always say your cousin. Your cousin. No, yours.
It was me.
I know.
That was your cousin.
Nah, it wasn't me. It was us. It was a collective. And I love the whānau and like the ahika that were willing to do that. Because that's not easy.
Manaia.
Yeah, hard.
Manaia Coromandel, that is.
Let's find out who cousin it was. Let's turn off the cameras and find out who cousin it was.
We know.
Hey, we'll bring you guys back. Thank you so much. I think we have a lot still to unpack, but it's a good start. So thank you so much for joining us.
It's been amazing. Thank you. Hope there's still people listening.
Yes.
Whakakapi?
Kata.
Yep.
Katai au ki te whakakapi, kei te pai tēnā. E mihi anō kia koutou I mātaki tōki whanaunga. Mea hau, mea rāua hoki. Mi tēnei pōnei, ai tino harikoa tōku ngākau. Kua tau te puehu o ngā take tino, he take tino, he nui ngai, pitarapea. You know, just like being like, just putting it out there. How it's out there, cousin, like, you know. Thank you. Love you, cuz.
Goodbye. Love you too, guys.
And yeah, love you too, my cuz. When you go to Chicago, get me some Jordans. Anyway, just about being open and being able to walk and stand in your own mana, even though the people that you lived with, you're trying to uphold the ahika mana, but you're doing it with your spice. You're doing it with your way, but you're still maintaining that flame. And that's what we need to do. So all our whānau out there is wero. Just because you've gone away from the home fire doesn't mean your responsibilities have gone with it. Add some wood to the fire, cuzzies, you know, whether it's a bag of concrete, a new spade, I don't know, some new knives at the kitchen, at the marae, as long as it can benefit everybody. Kei te pai tēnā. Nō reira, e mihi atu ki a koe leo. Brother, cheer my bro. Yeah, my man. Like,
man behind the scenes.
And, pōmari e. Kia tātou katoa, te atawhai o tō tātou ariki, a hukaraiti, me te aroha o te atua, me te whiwhinga tahitanga ki te wairua tapu. Hake, amine.
Amine.
Good.
We're back on Thursday, 7 p.m. That was fun. Thanks, Chloe.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ed. Thanks, Awhina. See you guys.
Pizza.
You. Bye. Peace.
Thank you, man.